Pokemon Draft has a lot of niche archetypes and strategies to dissect. As you increase in skill level, presumably the people around you will as well. The natural progression for the competitive mindset is to seek out stronger and stronger opponents until you are standing at the very top. And since draft funnels into playoffs, it naturally filters out stronger players. Having in-depth knowledge about strong niches your Pokemon have access to gives you a competitive edge. And today we're going to be talking about one of the much more complex niches in draft, trapping. Now, when I talk about trapping, I'm not talking about things like speed trapping or hazard trapping or putting your opponent into a zugzwang, but I'm talking about real, raw trapping. The ability to force your opponent to stay in and suffer whatever horrific fate you have planned on inflicting them with as punishment for falling into your trap. If you're a fan of Wolfie VGC, you're probably already familiar with trapping to an extent. Perish Trap is an incredibly strong strategy if played correctly in VGC. In it, users utilize the trapping ability of Gothitelle, Shadow Tag, and the move Perish Song to trap and guarantee kills, often resulting in powerful double KO turns. In singles draft, the most common type of draft, this isn't nearly as potent. However, it can still be incredibly strong if you've identified a strong target to trap, and you happen to have a Pokemon with trapping capabilities on your roster. There are two classes of trapping moves and trapping abilities, and despite being means to the same end, the way they're executed are totally different. It's important to recognize the difference because it changes the value approximation of the draft slot for that Pokemon. Since you have restricted roster of Pokemon in draft, making the best use of your picks is absolutely integral to getting the most value out of a draft as a whole. If you've invested 15 points in drafting a Pokemon that never comes, it would be the same as lighting those 15 points on fire, outside of maybe giving your opponent a heart attack on the prep screen. A trapper should never be drafted solely for the purpose of it being a trapper. If a Pokemon has a trapping ability, great. If it has some trapping sets, great. However, you should never gauge a Pokemon's ability solely on its trapping tendencies. Take Azumarill for an example here. Azumarill has the incredible Water Fairy typing, good coverage, and the exceptional ability to click buttons thanks to its special ability, Huge Power. However, Azu also has Whirlpool and Perish Song, allowing it to individually trap and KO Pokemon with Perish Trap. We don't draft Azumarill because it can Perish Trap, but it's nice that it has the ability to because we may need it in a specific matchup. More on that in just a moment. We draft Azu because it's a strong Pokemon and it might fit our roster's greater type chart and matchup needs. And ultimately, your trappers should be drafted just like this, supplementals to an already strong team. Pokemon with trapping abilities tend to lean a little more open with their use cases. Again, Goth comes to mind. Gothitelle is a pure Psychic type with decent defensive stats and special attack. It can be used as a breaker, a Calm Mind Sweeper, or a defensive piece as needed, and it has two other really strong abilities outside of Shadow Tag in Competitive and Frisk that both see use cases. Now, instead of being restricted to a dedicated trapping set, Goth can openly build however it pleases with the capacity to trap freely at any time. This makes it especially problematic, as now in addition to the variety of sets the ability Trapper can have as a piece, they also have the non-trapping possibility as well. This creates pressure on the prep screen in addition to the actual trapping in-game. Now let's dive into the details for the types of trapping, starting with trapping moves. Trapping moves are any move that blocks the exit of the opposing Pokemon. This can be temporary through moves like Whirlpool, Fire Spin, Infestation, or Sand Tomb, or it can be permanent through Mean Look or Block. Trapping moves are helpful for halting the pace of the game, and even the time trapping moves can let you wrench momentum back into your favor. This is because on the turn a Pokemon with a trapping move switches out, the opposing trapped Pokemon still isn't given the option to switch, it's trapped. This means you can keep something in place while you bring in its more viable counter, which your opponent would then have to address. Positional advantage from here puts you in the driver's seat. I call this a tempo trap. In this match between Ethan, coach of the Carolina Stantlers, and Victor, coach of the now Anchorage Avalanche, Ethan uses Gliscor to tempo trap Victor's Arboliva on a switch-in with Sand Tomb. He halts the momentum of the game entirely here, knocks Arboliva off, and even has time to recover from an unfortunate crit because he knows Victor can't do anything about it. The normal switches can't come out because he's trapped. He then takes back the reins of the tempo on his terms, switching into Decidueye knowing well that Giga Drain will likely be clicked. He then correctly continues his streak of momentum by clicking U-turn, reading Victor's Terra Poison Terra Blast and switching into Heatran, a play made especially impressive by the fact that Arboliva had already revealed Earth Power. Ethan was able to effectively reset the tempo of the game, establish some incremental advantage over Arboliva by removing its item and chipping it, keep his Gliscor healthy, and then pivot accordingly, all off of Sand Tomb alone. Tempo trapping is a high-level concept for gaining incremental advantage positions, but trapping moves can equally be effective at converting directly into raw advantage too. The goal of a good trap is to isolate and execute a target opposing threat, after all. Whether you're using Firespin Volcanion to hold Flip Turn Alomomola hostage, or blocking with Snorlax to keep an opposing Pokemon in general, the trapping move needs to have a payoff. There are 3 main ways a trapping move user can convert into a win. The first is Perish Trap. We've talked about it a bit, and to be honest, it's pretty underwhelming in singles draft. It might work on some lesser mons, but the fact of the matter is, Perish Trap works in doubles because of the speed of the format. It's entirely different. You can click Perish Song and another move in the same turn. In singles, you have to get the trap move off on your intended target, take a turn to click Perish, stall for 3 turns, then secure the KO. Additionally, there are no Pokemon that naturally learn Perish Song and have a trapping ability.
Dude, I told you to leave. No. Dude, you're banned in like half of the formats. You're banned in our Ubers format. Leave. You're not welcome. This video is not about you. You have to go.
Okay, almost no Pokemon. But for the record, if you're Perish Trapping with Mega Gengar, you might have some brain damage. Anyway, back to the point. Perish Trap is just too slow to be effective in draft. It's not impossible though, so if you see a consistent angle in a random week, go for it. Pokemon like Primarina, Azumarill, and Politoed all have the ability to Perish Trap and happen to be independently pretty strong Pokemon too, so you're not losing out much by drafting. Now, the good win conditions start to roll in when your trap has a much bigger payoff. The best use cases here are stall trapping and setup trapping, and they are exactly what they sound like. Stall trapping involves trapping, then statusing or PP stalling an opposing Pokemon that has nothing to do. In Season 2 of the EPL, I played against Noah and the Shanghai Superiors in a very close and fun match. In it, I caught his Toxapex with a mean look from my Dusclops, a set built to stall and eliminate the threat of Pex entirely. I sat there for 28 turns, dragging Pex into the grave with Wisp, Nightshade, and Rest, alongside Terra Poison to become immune to Toxic. Pex eventually ran out of recovers and slowly withered away. This type of stalling usually works best with moves like Mean Look or Block, but temporary trapping moves can get good chip in here as well, since you're likely accruing chip damage from burns, poisons, or toxics over the course of the game. Moves like Protect, Substitute, and Taunt are all strong contenders for making stall trapping much more efficient. Setup trapping is the inverse. It's leveraging the fact that your trapped victim can't do anything against their trapper to set up a snowball on the rest of the team. In Season 9, Monotype Mickey of the EPL, a crown-adorned Josh of the Los Angeles Lotties played against the Mad Genius Mark and the Seattle Suaddles. In the Rock vs. Fairy matchup, Mark's Nihilego trapped Josh's Terra Ground Alchemy with Wrap, and quickly killed the greedy Terra Blast with Mirror Coat and got a beast boost for speed. Josh sent in the defensive Klefki, but Mark unexpectedly stayed in to wrap the Klefki in place before following it up with a Meteor Beam for setup. A move like Calm Mind does a similar thing here. Josh's Klefki can't touch Nihilego, so Mark set up shop. Wrap finished Klefki, and Josh tried to reposition a little bit, but the boost was too much and he had to give up a Tapu Fini in order to guarantee he could get Azu in safely. Now, trapping moves are strong in some cases, but they aren't universal. You won't be bringing one to every game, most likely. But trapping abilities are on a whole different level. Pokemon with trapping abilities often have good moves, good utility, and overall good roll compression outside of their ability, but have the added benefit of being live on their trap straight from the jump, sort of like an instant domain expansion. Magnezone is a great example of this. It's a strong breaker, a bulky steel type, a slow pivot, and an incredible Terra Captain in some formats, and it has strong abilities in Sturdy and Analytic for survival and breaking, and it of course has Magnet Pull, a voodoo technique that has been used in Hidden Power Fire Murders of Ferrothorn since the dawn of time. Modern Magnezone achieves this through different means: electric moves from strong flying steels, and iron defense body press for grounded ones. Magnet Pull is niche, but helpful. Isolating opponents' steel types can do a lot for you, and even the cheap pullers are pretty solid as well. Dugtrio and Gothitelle, and Little Trapinch, have much more universal trapping abilities. Goth has Shadow Tag, and Trapinch and Dugtrio have Arena Trap. Again, these Pokemon are independently pretty good relative to their average price tag, with Trapinch usually being dirt cheap, and Goth and Dugtrio having a lot of set variety. Ability trappers naturally have a tempo higher than move trappers, and they can make for incredibly interesting gameplay. They have the flexibility to run whatever they want, and the win conditions for trapping become a lot stronger. Goth and Magnezone can set up trap much more consistently than Rap Nihilego can. You can very comfortably use Protect to generically stall extra turns of chip on Pokemon with status afflictions, and they're unable to escape that chip. But the biggest distinction for the ability trappers is the secret third technique they get access to for pushing the win needle: execution. With strong enough investment, these Pokemon get to revenge kill basically anything they want. In this match against my friend Justin, I set up a revenge execution trap early on. I lead Espeon to ensure Justin can't get any hazard up with his Sandy Shocks. But more importantly, I'm trying to set up a position where my Dugtrio can get in clean to kill the Sandy Shocks. I don't want him to be able to save this Sandy Shocks here for later. It's a massive inconvenience to my Dondozo and my Glimmora, and my Dugtrio has a Focus Sash. I plan to trap it with Dugtrio, and I do, forcing him to finally commit to getting hazards up in exchange for Shocks' life, while I get a guaranteed pick on it, because it can't escape. Then, the second part of my scheme fell into place, baiting the second execution. In addition to the Focus Sash for its item, my Dugtrio had Reversal, a move that increases in power the less HP it has. This guarantees I live and subsequently punish any greedy Ogerpon, Greninja, or Walking Wake that doesn't check for a Focus Sash with a pivot move first. Justin brings in Ogerpon, not realizing Ogerpon won't be walking away from this, and in 2 turns, Dugtrio is brought to its Sash, and Reversal removes Ogerpon from the game entirely. Since Dugtrio is heinously fast, it also gets some additional chip onto Bronzong, which Justin hastily sends in over Greninja here in a panic. I just trapped multiple targets with one chain of events, and I only wanted to secure the kill on Shocks. Using an execution trap to isolate and trade out a win condition for your opponent, a lose condition for you, or a slightly chipped Pokemon is incredibly high value and almost always worth it. Additionally, that security of being able to revenge chipped Pokemon ensures that those Pokemon aren't getting saved for a point in the game where they can become active again. It's incredibly helpful. But trapping isn't unstoppable. Ghost-type Pokemon are immune to trapping moves and abilities. Additionally, levitating and flying Pokemon are immune to Arena Trap. On top of that, the Shed Shell item allows the holder to switch out of a trapping move or ability freely. They can help you fight back against that revenge or execution tempo. In this match against my teammate David, we had a Trapping Mirror Grand Finals, with his Hisuian Gudra losing to my Dugtrio, and my Valiant and Dondozo losing to his Gothitelle. All 3 Pokemon had Shed Shells in this game because that's how potent the trapping threat was. You may be dedicating your item slot to it, but if the trap is strong enough that it's going to wreck your strategy, it's better to have the Shed Shell than be greedy and lost. Overall, trapping is good. Trappers are usually either Pokemon that have sparse trapping sets for niche value, or the ability-based trappers that warp the tempo of the game entirely. Either way, high-level use of trapping can help you win more interactions and sometimes catch opponents off guard. Trappers are strong, but you shouldn't focus your draft around the Trapper. Use the Trapper to supplement an already strong team or a draft with a role that fits it as well. As always, we want good role compression. Trapping abilities can sometimes lean towards an identity for the Pokemon that has them, but don't be fooled. Most of them have other abilities that give them other options entirely, so there's still compact options for draft. If you haven't tried trapping your opponents before, give it a whirl in your next season of draft. Don't be afraid to see that niche Dusclops Toxapex interaction and leverage it for all it's worth, or to bring Dugtrio as a fearless revenge trapper. Trapping is fun. It feels cerebral, and when it catches an intended target, it's often game-defining. Thanks for watching. I didn't talk about Mega Gengar in this video. In short, it's unbelievably strong and does everything a good execution trapper does, but on steroids because it's a Mega. It just holds things in place. The Pokemon is absolutely bonkers. It is honestly in a category of its own as far as trappers go, and it's banned in most draft boards, so it's not really relevant to draft, but it is a Pokemon that's strong. Nasty Plot, you know, don't skimp out on it if you... That is like a mon you can build around. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and please comment. I'm begging you to comment. I am interaction starved. Anything at all. Give me your best shot. I'll answer any questions, honestly. You know, I mean, I feel like I end these videos with some yammering, yapping, but you know, it's a call to action. I'm asking you to subscribe. You gotta subscribe. Come on, this was a good video. I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you did, subscribe, like, share it, do it, everything. You know, the call to action. Hold on, folks. He's gonna do it. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now, I think.